What's the weirdest thing you've done while your brain was on autopilot? Was taking my belt off at airport security. After I unbuckled, I momentarily thought I was in the bathroom and started unzipping. Stopped myself half a second before I pulled everything down. As someone who works airport security, you wouldn't believe how many times a day people try to take their pants off. In college, I had a fair number of all-nighters and usually had the TV going to help keep me up and help with concentration. Once, a couple of weeks after submitting an essay for a political science class, I noticed that the message I sent with it to my professor went something like, "Attached is my water for Italian cooking." My essay was completely fine and had nothing to do with Italy. I guess my brain just turned off as soon as I attached the paper, and there must have been some cooking-related infomercial on TV while I sent it. This is why I cannot study or write while listening to music or TV. My papers will be just full of lyrics and dialogue, I heard. The name of the place I work at begins with an F, and I was chatting with one of my cow workers who was telling me how she runs 10 miles or so every morning as the phone was ringing. What was going through my head was, "F that." So when I answered the phone, I said, "This is Travis, how can I help you?" Edit meant co-worker, but it. Cow worker is staying. I sleepwalk once in a while. Recently, I got up at 2 AM and fed the dog. My girlfriend woke up and was like, "What the f***? Did you just feed the dog? What time is it?" Apparently, I looked her in the eyes and said, "Everyone loves a midnight snack." He's a good dog, Brent. I bought a block of cheese for myself last weekend while my fiance was away in Nashville. Put it in the fridge like a normal person. At some point, I had to get something out of the miscellaneous drawer. You know, the one that holds pencils, rubber bands, menus. I didn't find what I was looking for in there, but I did find an unopened block of cheese. No idea how I managed to put it in there, nor do I remember ever taking it out of the fridge. But it had to be me. Right? It was the evil villain Rasputin. When I was sick and feeling feverish, I decided to take some Motrin to try and alleviate the symptoms. Usually I grab the pill bottle and shake out 2 pills, but instead I grabbed my water bottle first and poured water all over my head. FYI, fever is your body's way of fighting whatever germ off. For adults, if your fever is between 99 and 101 degrees Fahrenheit, try not to take anything to bring the fever down. If the fever goes above 105, then take something. Was on the phone with my boss and she was getting really irritated about something. I don't even remember what. The combination of her irritation and my exhaustion made my brain misfire, and I ended the call with, "Okay, bye mom, I love you." I was so embarrassed, but she thought it was hilarious and started calling me her adopted daughter after that. I mean, she is the same age as my mom, so it's not too weird, but I certainly felt like a child around her instead of a colleague until she left the company. I miss her. "I'm sorry you lost your mom." Not too weird because it does make sense. I recently moved to the apartment directly above the one I used to live in. My former roommate leaves the door unlocked. The frequency at which I just storm in and enter my empty old bedroom is staggering. I did this, moved one door down, but I never even spoke to the new occupants of the old place. Just barged in one day, coming back from the laundry room with my laundry basket, and there's a shirtless dude laying on the couch, probably high as a kite. We just stare at each other for a minute and I say, "I used to live here," and started walking out as he was laughing. Loaded up my toothbrush with toothpaste and proceeded to brush my hair with it instead of my teeth. I once started brushing my teeth with Preparation H instead of toothpaste. Back when we had a landline, I was talking on the cordless phone, and when I hung up, I stuck it in the fridge without even blinking an eye. It was lost for hours and nobody noticed until we got a phone call and the fridge started ringing. Did this with my old cell phone, but it was one of the old Nokias with an LCD screen. It took it about an hour to thaw out before the screen was readable again. Typing up a report for work, co-workers having a conversation near me. I proceed to start transcribing their conversation. Another time after work, I got into the passenger seat of my car and waited a good 2 minutes to be driven home before realizing I was alone. Same with listening to music while typing. I ended up typing the lyrics I mean to sing along to. Mostly listen to rap, so my report gets clogged with profanity and I have to clean it up before submitting. I had OJ at work while I had someone in my office. I went to shake it, but the cap was off, and I proceeded to shower myself with OJ. Must have been scary showering with a suspected murderer. When I was in school, 6th grade I think, my mom would make me bagged lunch. She would wrap soda cans with aluminium foil so they would stay cold. Pretty sure that doesn't work. One day I unwrapped my soda and discovered she packed me a beer that day. What did you do with that beer and why is the answer you chugged it? Woke up early Monday morning in a bit of a panic. I had forgotten to buy cat food yesterday. The cat must be starving. I hurry and get ready for work. I plan a detour to the store to buy the cat food. On the drive there, I'm planning my run into the store and I realize I don't know what aisle the food is in. How could I not remember what aisle the cat food is in? Then it hits me. I don't have a cat. I haven't had one for several years. You need a kitty. Answered my cell phone by saying, 911 center, what's the location of your emergency? Makes my spouse laugh, my friends roll their eyes, and scares the out of telemarketers. 12-hour night shifts are a bitch. Thank you for the diabolical idea of how to get rid of telemarketers. Cleaning up my face with electric clippers, thought, oh, I missed a spot, and proceeded to shave off my eyebrow. Been giggling like mad at all the stories, but yours just pushed me over the edge. I think my laughing just woke up the neighborhood. My wife and I were dyeing some Easter eggs and drinking wine this past Saturday night, and I watched her take a big swig out of orange. There was an egg in the cup and everything. I somehow do this every year. I filled my car with gas and, when I got home, realised that I had not paid. I went back to the station and told the clerk what I had done. She thought she was missing a payment, but the station was really busy at that time, so she wasn't exactly sure. I paid for my stolen gas and went about my way. I also walked into the convenience store next to my work, grabbed a Gatorade out of the cooler and walked out of the door. I realised what I did when I got back to work. Went back and paid for that too. Too long did not read. I steal things. I once paid for the gas, then drove off without pumping it. I used to work for Subway, so I was very used to pizza sub, meaning pepperoni. One day I went to a pizza place on my break and repeatedly told them I wanted a pizza and got very annoyed that they kept asking what kind of pizza I wanted. Pizza. I read that in the Little Caesars mascot voice. This had me rolling. Opening a mozzarella cheese stick for my daughter, threw away the actual cheese stick and gave her the wrapper. F you, this is all you get. I'm a security guard for Amazon and I have to do bathroom checks. Caught myself yelling security right before going to the restroom at a bar on my day off. Thank God it was empty. On a similar note, I did park maintenance for a while and often entered the opposite sex bathroom to clean. I have found myself yelling female maintenance worker before entering the ladies' room. I have two. Walking to work on a very straight path through a nature reserve, I fell asleep and slept-walked for about 10 minutes. It was so weird. I blinked and suddenly appeared near the end of my journey. Number two, got into my car with coffee and a newspaper, carefully held the rolled up newspaper whilst hurling the coffee onto the passenger seat. I went to a high school in the early 90s where smoking in the bathrooms between classes was very, very common, even though it was punishable by an $80 fine. You were required to say, "It's cool" when entering the bathroom, or kids would assume you were a teacher and put their cigarettes out. Not doing so could get your ass whooped. Like most kids in my school, I became so used to it that it was second nature. I got a job in IT immediately after leaving high school in a nice office building where I had to wear a tie. I'll never forget walking into the bathroom and loudly saying, "It's cool," and the president of the company saying, "What's cool?" with a confused look on his face. I just stood there like a dope for a second and then made up something about it being part of a song. I'm sure he thought I was a weirdo after that. My dog eats in my room, which is across the house from the kitchen, and she gets a mix of wet and dry food that I mix up with a fork. So I get her wet food, get halfway to my room, realise I've forgotten the fork, go back to the kitchen, get a fork, get halfway back to my room and realise I've forgotten the food. Go back to the kitchen, set the fork down, forget entirely what I'm doing, go back to my room to a very sad and confused puppy, pour her dry food into her bowl, go back to the kitchen, leave the bowl on the counter and go turn on the TV. Walk back in 15 minutes later, see the bowl, fork and food sitting on the counter, feel like a dunce and apologise to the puppy. Repeat 2 to 3 times a week. I thought for sure you were going to say you licked the fork after dishing out the food. Once while playing an intense board game, I was concentrating so hard that my buddy realised that he could just hand random things to me and I'd take them and put them in my jacket pocket or place them on the table in front of me. I only realised when I ran out of space to put things. The other day I was checking in at an amusement park. After the guy scanned my ticket, I, for some unknown reason, held out my hand and the guy handed me his scanner. I cared for a horse for several years. First thing in the morning I would go put feed and water in the field, lead her out and close the fence behind her. One morning as I'm walking back into my house, I hear a weird sound behind me. The sound of hooves on linoleum. She looked as surprised as I was that I had brought her into my kitchen. Luckily, she never told anyone, so my secret is still safe. You can lead a horse to your kitchen, but you can't make it cook you breakfast. I have poured my dog a bowl of cereal instead of giving her food multiple times. Everything is food when you're a dog. When I was 18, hanging out with my then girlfriend at her place, fell asleep for a bit, and when I woke up, she said, "You're cute when you sleep." My immediate sleep brain reply was, "Not when 7 people end up dead." I used to fall asleep in class quite often, and normally my writing would trail off into something illegible, and then I'd be out for the count for 10 to 15 minutes. One time I woke up after an in-class power nap to find that my writing had trailed off and that I'd written "my son" as clear as anything at the end of the sentence. I was 13 or 14 at the time and don't have any children. Texting my wife while cashing out at the grocery store. She had just done laundry, so I wanted to thank her. Rather than typing, I spoke aloud to the cashier saying, "Thanks, love you." Yep, the amount of times I've ended a phone conversation with "Okay, love you, bye," that wasn't with my husband, mom, dad, brothers on the other end is embarrassing.